based on what you've heard this morning and what you'll hear about White Butte, that you'll ask them some questions on how they got to where they've been and what some of the challenges and opportunities are. So today the panel is made up of representatives from the initial communities, although the partnership has expanded to 7 municipalities now. I would like to draw your attention to the fact sheet that's been inserted in your program. It has a lot of the detailed information, including all of the communities that are currently involved with White Butte, which is Balgonie, the Village of Edenwold, the RM of Edenwold, Pilot Butte, Regina. A new member is the RM of Sherwood, and of course White City. So I'm just going to take a quick moment here to introduce the panel, and then I'll let Bruce come up and give you a brief history. So on my far left is Mitch Huber, and he is the Reeve of the RM of Edenwold. Lain Lovelace is the Deputy Mayor of Balgonie, and Nat Ross is the Mayor of Pilot Butte. Bruce Evans is the Mayor of White City, and Dean Josephson is the Mayor of the Village of Edenwold. So I'll welcome them up now.
Thank you, Pam, and hello, everybody. You've probably noticed that the last presentation was very well organized, and the reason for that, of course, is that the staff whose job it is to organize the planning for the region have made the presentations, so they know exactly where they want to go and how they're going to get there. Unfortunately, as a municipal politician in a region that has a variety of interests and history, it's not quite so simple to define what regional planning, what the benefits are, or what it's all about. But nonetheless, about 4 years ago, with the support of the provincial government through the Planning for Growth funding, the original partners of this organization got together for a 2-day session where we started out discussing whether it even made sense to go any further. There was obviously history amongst the urban municipalities and the rural municipalities. There were personality issues, all of which had to be overcome if we were going to make any progress in this regard. So we did get together, we did go through that exercise, and we decided on a voluntary organization that would be focused on identifying areas where all of us agreed work needed to be done in order to benefit the entire region. Now that is, in fact, looking for low-hanging fruit, but it proved very successful. So we identified 3 or 4 major issues. One was first of all, what do municipal governments do? They provide services to the people who live in their communities. Pretty simple concept, but we needed to identify how best to deliver those services. We have, as an example, a fire commission that was established as a result of White Butte. Now, there were intermunicipal agreements in place amongst the volunteer fire departments prior to the fire commission being established, but this formalized the process and got our fire departments discussing where we might be able to provide better service to our ratepayers and a reasonable level of compensation for the work that was done. We then entered into a mutual aid agreement with the City of Regina so that if our fire departments are not able to deliver the level of service that's needed, the City of Regina will come in, and believe it or not, the opposite is also the case, and our fire department has actually helped the City of Regina put out a fire that required some specialized equipment that we have for fighting grass fires. So that's one of the areas where we focused. The second was on transportation. One area that has been a major concern for the entire east side of Regina over the last number of years, and a growing concern, is safety and accessibility on and off number 1 highway. So we got together as a group and worked with the Ministry of Highways to identify where interchanges and off-ramps and service roads would best be located along that corridor. Subsequently, we began work with the City of Regina to incorporate the three overpasses that had been identified on the east side of the city with the Southeast Regina bypass. And as a result of that work, which started about 4.5 years ago, the province and the federal government recently announced the project, which is being billed as the largest infrastructure project in Saskatchewan's history, a P3 development that will speed up the construction of those overpasses and service roads from a traditional build of 25 to 30 years down to 3 years. And that was, in our view, a major accomplishment. Now, that was not without its hurdles. And the municipalities and their ratepayers had to make some compromises. Everybody, before, during, and after this process, has their own opinion about where the Southeast bypass should go. Should it go on Tower Road? Should it go someplace else? Should there be an overpass at the Esso or at Pilot Butte? That debate has been going on, and if there's some people here from highways, they'll confirm this, for decades. And the municipalities affected by this could never agree, either internally or amongst themselves, where these ought to go. We made a commitment that we would work together to find the best solution, likely one that no one would consider to be the penultimate solution. There would have to be compromises made, but we worked on that basis and worked diligently, first as a group of 5, and then with the City of Regina, and most recently the RM of Sherwood has also joined. So that was another major accomplishment, and I can't overstate the importance of that project, because in addition to the safety factors and the speed of construction, the service roads that will be constructed on either side of the bypass will create a service corridor that will allow for a tremendous amount of economic development on both sides of the number 1 highway, all the way from Balgonie all the way to the global transportation hub and north to Highway 11. So tremendous spin-offs as a result of that project. We are also working on some recreation projects, and one of the most recent ones that we have been working on, Nat Ross will be able to tell you a little bit more in a minute, but we are meeting with the Trans-Canada Trail organization to see if we can't identify a pathway and walking path system that will join from Edenwold in the northeast corner of our area, through Balgonie, to Pilot Butte, through the White Butte trails, across the highway, into White City, and all the way into along Chuka Creek to join up with the Wascana Trails system in the southeast part of the city, and have another loop on the north side of the highway as well. So we'll have a looped system for a pathway system that, frankly, would be, I think everybody in the region will be happy and proud to identify as a major accomplishment. The Trans-Canada Trail has, and again, Nat will be able to give you more information on it, but they've approved some funding to do some design work on that. So we have we've also, as individual municipalities, obviously gone through and are continuing to go through the official community plan design process. White City has just completed our OCP, and all of the other municipalities, both urban and rural, are either finished or in the process of finishing their OCPs. What we have not done yet is to overlay each of those plans on top of each other to see how they fit together. And that will be one of the challenges, I think, going forward. But again, our focus is on finding those areas where it makes sense for all of us to be working together, and then burying the hatchets of the past and working together to improve service delivery for the residents of each of our municipalities, because after all, that's really what it's all about. So that's about all I have to say. What I would like to do, though, is ask Mitch or any of the other gentlemen on the stage if they have anything else to add. Nat?
I thank Bruce for mentioning the Trans-Canada Trail, but he had it slightly wrong, and this is some of the challenges that we have within the group. It goes to Pilot Butte to Regina, following Pilot Butte Creek, and then from there, perhaps back to White City. So,
Some of the challenges.
but we'll resolve it.
So are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions about anything that White Butte's been up to, or any challenges? Oh,
Yes, I have some comments and questions.
thanks.
We had to come to the conference to find out about the White Butte Regional Planning Committee. We're from the Cowes First Nation, and we have land in this area. And I believe Sakamia First Nation does as well. So I haven't heard a single thing about working with First Nations people. I don't see anyone on your committee. I'd like to know how are we going to work together and bury the hatchets of the past if you're not going to have any First Nations people involved in this planning committee, because we have plans too. And it'd be nice if we could work together.
Who wants to take that? Who wants to take that?
That's a fair comment and a fair question. When the initial invitations went out, I believe that they were sent out to both of your communities, and we didn't get a response. That doesn't mean that we're not interested in working today. Certainly on the highways project, there was some considerable amount of consultation, but that invitation was sent out and certainly is still is open for you to get involved.
Actually, I'll just add one little thing to that. On the back of your fact sheet, you'll see in their current strategic plan that they just finished, engaging the First Nations regional partners is on the list of things that they're going to get at in this next cycle of work that they're doing together. Those are the priorities on the very back sheet of that fact sheet. Are there any other questions?
How much for dollars?
Hi there. You know, the regional planning across the country forms its way in different legislative amounts. Some, of course, provinces, regional planning is very legislative. Here it's not. As you guys do your work, what do you see the provincial government's role around this subject as you guys are starting to evolve your story? Do you think more legislation around this subject needs to happen, or do you think it's about the right balance today?
Anybody want to talk about the legislative framework you're working within? Okay.
Yeah, in terms of funding, obviously it would always be nice to get more funding from senior levels of government. We have made the commitment to date, at least, that we do fund this initiative internally mostly. We will certainly look to senior levels of government on a go-forward basis. Michael.
Just a question, Bruce, if you or your members of the committee can speak to the regional wastewater study that the City of Regina put forward, that $500,000 study that really was the beginning of a regional approach to wastewater, just the impact that has had on deliberations with our partners, and where you see it going forward into the future.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. On a go-forward basis, one of the major initiatives that we are looking at is, as Michael mentioned, a regional wastewater authority and project. We have, to date, begun some regional cooperation with the RM of Edenwold as it relates to White City and Edenwold's, the RM of Edenwold's wastewater project. We are fairly close to moving forward with actual construction of a new plant that will allow us to grow probably for the next 8 to 10 years, and then we'll be out of capacity again. And that timeline is very consistent with the timeline that it would take in order to construct a regional facility that would include the city of Regina and the areas to the east of the city. We believe that an authority like that is third party, that all of the regional partners have some ownership in, makes some good sense. And we need to look at the design constraints and the dollars and cents, but certainly as we continue to grow as a town of White City or any of the other municipalities, that is one of the infrastructure constraints that has to be addressed. And if we can do it regionally and it makes more financial sense to do so, we ought to do that. And so that's the project that Michael has just referred to.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we have a couple here. Oh, yeah.
If I heard the question, the one before legislation, but I think the way I heard the question was where do we see the provincial government's role now and into the future? I think that was a lot of the White Butte, the design of the White Butte coming together was, let's face it, it's all about money. And there's money, there's a stronger voice in numbers. And as our regions, as our area has grown and shown growth, and demand for growth has put a lot of onus on us. So I think a lot of the thought process is, if we have some numbers involved, and if we can be a unified voice, we have a stronger lobby position with the provincial government, as well as the feds, in all aspects of granting.
I think the only other thing I can add is it's always nice if you can sort of determine your own destiny as well. So I think that's why we wanted to actually get out in front of it too, rather than being maybe put into a process that maybe doesn't quite align with where we are now.
Yes, that's a good point. Okay, I'm gonna put Mayor Josephson on the spot here for a second, because I know this morning the mayor from BC had talked about, sorry, I didn't see you there. I'll put you on the spot in a moment. I'm gonna take her question first. The lights are so bright.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Chief Lain, Chief of Sakame First Nations. First of all, I want to acknowledge all of your honors who are here and all of the leadership, municipal leadership and the First Nations leadership. And also on behalf of the Treaty 4 Council of Chiefs, I would like to say welcome to all of our visitors here. Welcome to Treaty 4 territory. I don't have a question. I have two comments with respect to some of the responses that I heard regarding First Nations involvement in regional planning. It was mentioned that Sakame First Nations indeed was involved in the highway planning, and I just had to make a tongue-in-cheek comment. I said, when they want our land, yeah, they'll come to the table. But I want to say that it's not enough to engage First Nations in regional planning. We need involvement, not engagement. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good comment. Thank you. So, oh, hi.
Thank you. Edmund Belgard, the tribal chairperson, File Hills Qu'Appelle Tribal Council. With respect to Regina and districts' wastewater management plans moving forward, we've had a number of interested or affected parties come forward that have expressed concerns about the Lower Qu'Appelle watershed and some of the impacts that wastewater management activities, some of those impacts that have had negative impact on the Qu'Appelle River system, and that are impacting a regional economic and tourism strategy for Fort Qu'Appelle and extending beyond that. There are a number of First Nations that have land that butts up to the Qu'Appelle River system, whether it's the river itself, being Piepot First Nation, Muscopetang First Nation, Pasqua First Nation and Pasqua Lake, Standing Buffalo First Nation. Moving eastward, we get to Star Blanket or the Whitecalf First Nation. Carry the Kettle has the lands. Treaty 4 Collective Reserve is on the shores of Mission Lake. Further on down the line, further east, we have Sakomay, Cowsis, Kakawishtahow, Ochapowace in the Crooked Lake, Round Lake system. And there are impacts on the wastewater management processes of maybe the White Butte residents and different RMs that seriously impair a region in economic and tourism strategy development. The Fort Qu'Appelle, the Calling Lakes Planning Commission, the Friends of Katepwa Provincial Park have come together and they've included our tribal council and other First Nations in trying to address and bring these matters to the attention where they need to be. But I think it's a deeper rooted issue, and that's what Chief Akous's comments are, is engagement maybe is not an effective process. There has to be inclusion, and listening to Chief Louis' presentation over the lunch hour, there's got to be an understanding of the truth first and foremost, and it's not as a stakeholder, it's as a rights holder, were his remarks. So I would hope that this region seriously take that under advisement, because it's only going to lead to more divergent viewpoints. It's only going to lead to more divergent processes, whether they're legal remedies, whether they're remedies under the Saskatchewan Municipalities Act and some of those provincial legislated aspects.
Do you have a question? Sorry, do you have a question?
It's the question is how do we come together, because it's bigger than White Butte, it's bigger than Regina, because the impacts are starting to affect other regional planning, other tourism development, other economic development.
Right.
So how are you going to engage and include all of those impacts moving forward, because it does impair?
Thank you. I think there may be a long answer to that question, and I might suggest that the working session tomorrow might be an opportunity, when you guys are working together, to talk about this issue that's been brought up a couple of times, is what are some of the actions that could be taken to start working closer together. I'm not certain there's a quick answer to that question, but this, pardon me? Yeah, sorry, the mayor was just pointing out that the whole point of the summit and the work that you guys are going to be doing tomorrow is to really try to flesh out some of these opportunities and identify what are the actions that can be taken immediately and in the long term to start resolving some of these things or capitalizing on the opportunities. So it's okay, I'll let that one for tomorrow. I've written it down. So I was just going to ask Mayor Josephson here if there aren't any questions right now. I know this morning the mayor from BC talked about how the diversity of different communities and big and small working together. And I thought that he might be willing to share his experience as being a very small village in the region and what he's seen as some of the benefits of being involved in this regional committee. Do you mind? You have to know I put you on the spot.
Hello? Okay, it is working. From the perspective of the smallest municipality in the White Butte region, we're an order of magnitude smaller than the next largest, with about 260 people in Edenwold. I think we probably pull more out of the White Butte collaboration than we're able to put in some ways. In other ways, we're very much equal partners. Where we're drawing on the other communities is we don't have all the resources that they do. So some things such as planners and that, and the administrations, we're working with the other communities regularly, drawing on their expertise and assistance where we need it. And I think it's extremely beneficial to us as well.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to do, if there are no other questions from the audience, one more question for Lain Lovelace from Balgonie, because we briefly rehearsed this question at the break and I really liked his answer. So the question is, collaboration requires finding ways to work through conflict. Can you share a situation where there was conflict that was addressed positively, and how was it achieved, or how have you guys dealt with conflict?
Okay, I'm actually not going to answer that question. I'm going to change it a little bit. Pretty much what we've been doing is, as you alluded by Bruce, is we've basically been cherry picking the low-hanging fruit. So up to now, what we've done as a group is we've gone out and said, okay, we know there's areas that we can achieve some benefits. So the amount of conflict that our group has seen so far has been actually fairly limited. The fact that we have now 7 members actually is a good thing for conflict, because it gives us an opportunity then to hold each other accountable as well. And it's a good check. And conflict, in our case, isn't a bad thing. It's not the way to think about this. You got to get your head in the right mindset. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to go back and have those really good discussions and make better plans. Is that okay? I didn't answer your question?
It's okay.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with you guys not following what I want you to do at times. I think we're done now, John. We're at the end of this segment. Thanks so much.